Meet Addie, an American Girl, Book 1. So the first is a chapter book. So the first chapter I'll be reading is Whispers of Freedom. Addie Walker woke up late on a summer night to hear her parents whispering. She thought no more of the quiet voice than of a soft chirping of the crickets in the woods just beyond the little cabin. Often she woke up to hear her parents whispering. Addie liked the sound. It made her feel safe, knowing her mother and father were close by. A small fire glowing in the hearth as the last coal burned down from the fire Mama had used to cook supper. Hearth. So, hearth is a new word. Hearth is one of our vocabulary words. And what hearth means is a fireplace. Hearth is a fireplace. So that's the definition of hearth. So let's go back into it. Usually, Addie liked the warm glow of the coal in the darkness. It was the only light in the windowless cabin. But tonight it just made her hotter. Sweat crawled down her small body like ants. The stiff, dry corn husk stiffing her palate poked through her thin covering, sticking her palate. So palate is another vocabulary word. Palate is also a homophone. We have palette, P-A-L-E-T-T-E, which is an art palette, but in this book it's spelled P-A-L-L-E-T, which is a wooden surface that they use to sleep on. So we have two palettes, but in the book we're talking about palette, which is P-A-L-L-E-T, a wooden surface that they use to sleep on. So let's go back into the story. Her older brother, Sam, laid on his own pallet near her feet. Addie could see his dark face in the firelight and hear his regular breathing. Her baby sister laid next to her. Esther's steamy breath was blowing on Addie's face. Addie loved Esther, but it was too hot to be close to her tonight. Addie tried to wiggle away from the baby. When she turned from Esther, her parents stopped and talked. Hush, Ben, Mama said to Papa. I think Addie's awake. Addie kept her eyes closed, but she could hear the rustling of the corn husk. When her father got up, his soft feet crossed the dirt floor. She opened up her eyes just slightly as his shadow passed over her, covering her and Esther and Sam. Addie felt protected inside of it. Protected is one of our vocabulary words. So protected means safe or feeling safe, keeping something safe. So Addie felt very protected when her dad's shadow covered her. So let's go back into it. Addie felt protected inside of it. She wanted to ask Papa what you and Mama were talking about, but she kept her mouth shut. When her parents started talking again, she listened. The child asleep, Ruth, Papa said to Mama. Returning to their pallet, she turned out. Addie opened her eyes just slightly as Papa's shadow passed over her. She felt protected inside. So, I will show the children out in the field half a day worming the tobacco plants. Worming is a new vocabulary word which means moving something difficult or wiggling it out. So the kids were outside moving the tobacco plants. So let's go back to see what happens. Ben, listen to me, Mama said. Her voice was serious. I don't think we should run now. The war is gonna be over soon, and then we'll be free. Ruth, I've done told you before. The Union soldiers ain't nowhere near our parts of the North California. They are the way clear on the other side of the state. Addie's father replied, who knows when we're gonna be free? But, Ben, we can't lose nothing we ain't won. We all together here. That counts for something, Mama argued. Ruth, it should count, but you know it don't. With this wartime hard, money is real tight for the master. A whole group of slaves was sold off the Griffin plantation because Master Griffin could not afford to feed and clothe any of them, Papa said. Plantation. Plantation is another vocabulary that we have, and plantation means a field. It can be a field of corn, it can be a field of tobacco, it can be a field of sugarcane. It's just a field of any type of crops. Crops are things that we grow, such as bread, wheat. So that's the plantation field. So right now, Addie and her parents work on a plantation field for Mr. Griffin, well, Master Griffin, correction. That was Master Griffin. Master Stephen would never sell us. We work hard for him. We do everything he tells us. He need me to do sewing, and you do his carpenter work. Addie had never heard her mother speak so firm. What about Sam? Papa went on. I got to drag him off his pallet when the morning work horn sound. He gets up, grumble about not wanting to work for master, and then he takes his grumbling out into the field. Grumbling. Grumbling is a vocabulary word speaking in a not so nice manner or very anger. He speak with so much anger, so he would be like, I don't want to work today for master. Which made sense because master had them on the plantation field, and the plantation field is pretty hot outside. So let's see what happens. He got a hot head and a hot mouth. Sam done run off once, and now he wants to go out and fight in the war. All he talks about is going north to fight for freedom. If Sam don't watch it, he gonna get all of us in trouble. Addie didn't like what she heard. She remembered when Sam had ran off the year before, shortly before Esther was born. He was tracked down by Master Stephen's dog and brought back. He was tied to a tree and beaten with a whip by Master Stephen. Addie screamed and cried, but her parents did not. They had blank, empty face that made Addie angry. Whew, that's a lot. When the beating was over, Sam's back was covered with blood. Papa carried him back to the cabin, and Mama and Papa cleaned the blood from him. Finally, Addie yelled at her parents, "Y'all don't care about Sam at all. Y'all don't even cry." As soon as she said that, she felt bad. "Come here," her father said softly. Addie went to him, ashamed to look at his dark, stubbly face. Ashamed. Ashamed is another definition, not a definition, but another vocabulary word. And ashamed just means guilty. She felt guilty. She didn't want to yell at her parents, but she felt that her parents did not care what happened to their friend. So that's why she just yelled at them. But after a while, she felt kind of guilty. So let's see how guilty did she really feel. She held her face down, but her father lifted up and wiped away her tears. Just because you don't see us crying and carrying on don't mean we don't care. It don't mean we ain't crying either. Me and your mama crying on the inside. When inside, we is free. There's always freedom inside your head, Addie. Freedom. Freedom. That was what her parents were talking about tonight. But they were talking about a different kind of freedom. They were talking about the kind of freedom a slave had to run away to get. If Sam take off by himself a second time, we might never see him again. Mama said in a worried whisper, "I want us all to be together." Papa didn't answer right away. Then he said, Uncle Solomon told me in the field today that there a set of railroad tracks about 10 miles after the river near the Griffin Place. We followed them north till they cross another set of track. Where they cross, there's a white house with a red shelter. It was a safe house. An old white woman lived there named Mrs. Caroline. She's gonna help us. We only had to get that far, Papa said. In the dark, Addie hugged Jane, the small rag doll Mama had made for her, the doll she kept with every night. Her parents talked about running away scared her. She had never heard them talk about it before. Whenever Sam walked or talked about escaping, they told him to hush. If we get caught, Master Stephen's gonna split us up for sure. Mama said, her voice shaking. I figure ain't nothing for us, answered Papa. I figure ain't nothing for sure, answered Papa. But we gotta take our chance while we got 'em. You can't go backing out on me now. I'm not backing out, Mama said. She surrounded Cross. I'm just scared. You want to go all the way to Philadelphia. I ain't never been no farther than Griffin Plantation. What if we get lost from each other? We gonna go together and we gonna stay together. God will watch over us. You got to believe we gonna make it to the north. Papa sounded sure and strong. Addie knew he could protect them. No matter what, let's just wait a little longer. When the war over, we all gonna be free. All of us right here, Mama said again. But Papa was firm. I hurt when I see Addie tooting heavy water buckets to the field. Or when I see her working there, bent over like an old woman. Sam already 15, but she's a little girl, 9-year-old, and smart as they come. She got out in the morning, her eyes all bright and shiny with hope. By night she come in, stumbling here, so tired she can hardly eat. Esther's still a little baby, but Addie getting beat down every day. I can't stand back and watch it no more. We can't wait for our freedom. We're going to have to take it. Papa said firm. Firm is standing strong, a vocabulary word that we should all know. Firm is standing strong, believing in what you believe. Mama was quiet again. Addie wasn't thinking about the heat of the cabin, her prickly palate, or Esther's hot breath. She was waiting for her mother's answer. None came. She heard her father rise. He went to the hearth and covered the coals with ash. When Addie heard him lie down, her eyes popped up. But now Addie could see nothing. There was no light in the cabin. In the thick darkness, Addie knew she had heard a secret that she must keep to herself, no matter how hot it burns inside of her. She could feel Esther's breath on her back, turning to her face her sister. She moved close and put her arms around her. The baby's breath did not feel too warm now. Addie was glad. Esther was there on the pallet with her. As Addie fell asleep, the only voice she could hear in the night were those of the crickets in the woods. And that is the end of chapter 1. I hope you guys loved it and learned some new vocabulary words. And also, you guys learned about a homophone, which was palate. So, let's see what happens next time with Addie.